Channing. I'm in charge of membership and development here at HBAV. So thank you all for joining. We have started this webinar series in order to provide more education to all of our members. So here we are, and happy National Home Remodeling Month. Before we get started, I'm just going to talk about a few upcoming things at HBAV. Like I said, we've started a webinar series. So at the end of May, we're having a new laws effective July 1 webinar with our government affairs team. So Kara and Andrew will be on that presenting. And then in June, we're hosting an NAHB savings program webinar. So if you don't know this, you're a member with your local, you're a member with us, and you're also a member at the National Association of Home Builders. So you're eligible to take advantage of all their savings programs. So if it's ever been daunting, now's the time to jump on and hear directly from them about all the programs. At the end of June, we're hosting our annual conference and Housing Excellence Awards. And at the end of September, we have our annual Virginia Builders Summit. So exhibit booths are open. If you're interested in exhibiting, please let us know. But save the date, registration is not open yet. We're on annual conference. Like I said, it's in Virginia Beach this year. We are hosting a Fun After 5 welcome party. Then we'll have a Builders and Breakfast, followed by an AI in the State of the Industry education session and a Home Design Trends panel. Registration is open until May 27th. So if you're interested in coming, please, please, please register before then and get your hotel room because the hotel block is close to sold out. With that, let's meet our panelists. Today we have Sean Beliveau of Slate Creek Builders, Chad Hackman with Alair Homes Arlington, and Leo Lance with Leo Lance Construction. They're all a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the remodeling industry and to the Federation. So they've all been very active in their local home builders associations. They've all served in some capacity at HBAV, and they're all currently on the NAHB Remodelers Council Board of Trustees. So we're very excited to have them on today. We also have our CEO, Craig Tolson, who will be moderating the panel. And with that, we can get right into it. Craig?
All right. Thank you, Channing, for those opening remarks and welcome. Thank you all for joining us today, our HBAV Remodelers panel discussion. Just to kind of set the stage, the remodeling industry has become an increasing portion of the HBAV membership and the overall segment of the housing industry. It is actually a multi-billion-dollar sector that supports, as we know, thousands of jobs and businesses in Virginia. So today, as Channing mentioned, we have a fantastic panel of experienced remodelers who have been active not only at their local but state and national association, like Channing mentioned. We're going to discuss topics such as the direction we're going, design, consumer preferences, legislative and policy implications, supplier relations, materials, labor, and maybe we'll ask the panelists to kind of predict the future a little bit towards the end. We will ask you to participate. So if you have questions, please enter them in the chat and we will get to all those at the end. Depending on how many questions we have, you can also just ask your question at the end if you don't want to type it in the chat. So with that, why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm going to moderate this, so I'm going to ask questions and we'll just have a discussion with our three panelists. So first question will go to Mr. Chad Hackman. Chad, if you could start just telling us a little bit about what you feel are the big fundamental shifts and differences in the remodeling industry today compared to, say, 5 or 10 years ago.
Thanks, Craig. Chad Hackman with Alair Homes Arlington. I am going to stay away or push off the AI question because I think AI is the current topic du jour. You can't go to a meeting at IDS or anywhere else that has a title on AI that isn't overflowed and packed. But I will say that getting into the regulation question, the local jurisdictions in the state are so regulated that it's forced a lot of homeowners who were previously considering doing a new construction into the remodeling world because of the stormwater management requirements, staying under the 2,500 square feet of disturbed area. It's encouraged a lot of homeowners here in Arlington to keep a few walls or keep enough of the existing structure to call it a renovation, but still have basically a new home. Thank you.
That's awesome. Sean or Leo, anything to add on big changes, things that are very different in your business today versus 10 years ago? And anything that kind of you feel like is here to stay versus something that was just a short-term hype, but something that is here to stay?
I could go a little bit with, I mean, in the last 5 years, the pricing is probably like our biggest hurdle that we're dealing with. And I think with that is financing as well. So we've seen interest rates double or more in the last 5 years. And we have not had a client use uh, a construction loan in that period of time. So all of our projects are being financed with cash or with home equity products, using the equity that folks already have in their homes. And I don't really see that. I don't really see that going away in the near future. So I think it's, it's good for the industry, I think, in general, that people are going to be looking to stay and improve their homes rather than bite the bullet and buy a new house. And I think a lot of us know a new custom home costs a lot of money these days too. So I see that, and the AI thing, we could talk about it more, but that's, it's getting into everybody's daily routine and workflow, how we're doing business. And
Yeah.
that's something that I think is going to change the way that we all fundamentally operate here over the next few years for sure.
I
Greg,
will
I'll
add,
say,
go
I'll
ahead.
say that the demand for remodeling is especially gone through the roof in our market because of the lack of new homes, with the slow rate of approval for new development. That has been a major factor for people staying in remodeling, plus the fact that the number of homes on the market is very low. So people are forced to stay. Also, they don't want to give up that 3% or less mortgage. So they can tap into that home equity, and they're far better off financially to remodel than to move.
Right. All right. So all these or all these home buyers who don't want to move, they've got a low interest rate, they got a lot of home equity. What are they asking for now? Is it still the fancy kitchen and the new bath? Are there any things that they are asking for now that they weren't before, or any trends?
Well, the trend this year seems to be the bathroom. Everybody wants a bathroom. That's the majority of our leads. We are seeing in the future, I believe we'll be seeing ADUs with the change in Virginia law coming up, effective July 1st of 27. You will be able to install a auxiliary dwelling unit by right versus having to go through traditional zoning approvals. And I think we're going to see just an explosion in that market given the housing crunch.
Yeah, Blacksburg has had ADUs for a few years, and we thought it would be bigger than it has been. And I think there's a lot of education that we have to do to our community, but I think one of the challenges is that we talked to somebody about putting 1,000 square foot or 1,200 square foot as the max ADU we can do in Blacksburg. And the cost of that 1,200 square foot ADU may be more than they paid for their home 10 or 15 years ago. And so that's been a hurdle. So I think the pressures will probably increase, and I think the ADU thing will come on, but it's not like you can slap an ADU down for 200 grand and have that. It's
Right.
it's not the most affordable thing. So in the right situation, a multi-generational thing or something like that, it's good, but it's got some challenges just again with just what everything costs.
Well, one of the limitations is that in our market for sure, they still require the homeowner to live in either the ADU or the home. So the rental side of the market, those investors and developers cannot get into the ADU market as easily. And up here in Arlington, they've been fiddling with the setbacks. So it used to be that you could put, we have, small 8,000 square foot lots. It used to be that you could tuck it right up to the property line with a foot off, and now they're requiring that it's 5 foot off, and so that takes up a little bit more yard, and it's annoys the folks. And I will just touch on quickly the financing piece. There are, the lenders out there have been, they haven't had those 3% refinances for a few years now and are getting a little antsy. And there are a couple of lenders out there that are allowing you to keep your first. So your 2 or 3% mortgage, and then go into future value on your second. They're few and far between, and it's a lot of backed by a lot of private money, but there are a couple out there that are doing that. At least allows us as remodelers to expand the conversation and give people more options. Because you're right, everybody you walk into is desperately in love of their 3% mortgage and can't believe how much things cost.
That's right.
So,
all right. So one question that I kind of have is still the big, huge open floor plans. Is that still a thing, or are we looking at more like defined spaces again? Or is it still the big open kitchen, big, massive island? Is that what people were asking for? Like they were, 10 years ago, I know that was the trend.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing they still want the open floor plan, but they want an office. COVID
100%.
made everyone,
100%.
I put more doors on rooms than ever before during COVID, because people got tired of, being in a meeting and the husband's walking behind them in the boxer shorts. So the dog's jumping on their lap, or the kids are running around. So that has been a huge change, is having at least one home office space with doors on it.
I with that, we're also, almost all of our remodels have at least one person working from home during the entire remodeling project, which is adding a little level of complexity to what we're doing. So we're having to navigate that. But yeah, I completely agree with Leo. We're not compartmentalizing homes. We're still knocking walls down. So the open plan seems to still be preferable, but the dedicated closed off home office space is definitely something that we're doing in just about everything.
We're doing away with the Whirlpool tubs. They're all pedestal or soaker tubs.
You can
or
fit a
even
home office in one of those spaces. One of those 1999 giant soaking tubs took up.
yeah.
Yeah, they haven't turned on the jets in 20 years. So those are the ones.
Yeah. So we're
I would
taking those
say-
out and either maybe just removing the tub completely and putting in nicer showers. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a big
I would
change.
say they still have a completely irrational relationship with the size of their island and the size of the island that they want to have. And many folks are trying to, especially in our smaller houses, they want an island where an island would makes no sense because they don't have the room around it. But if you can get them,
the AI generated island,
Mhm.
it's still do this. Yeah.
That's right. But one of the things we found a little bit of success in is when we can't find room for the home office on the main floor and nobody wants to be in the basement, if they have the budget, doing a loft office, up above. I have had some clients that have, they're working from home and they're talking to clients overseas or in California, and they need to be as far away from the kids when the kids come home. And so hiding their office up in a loft area or someplace else in the house where it can be isolated is important to them.
I'm actually talking with a company out in California, autonomous AI, that has modular units to fit in the backyard. They're about 8.5 by 12 or so. You can assemble them in a day or two and be done with it. It has self-leveling feet, so there's no requirements as far as footings, and you don't have to get a special building permit to install them. They're already pre-wired, come with glass walls, and it's pretty cool.
Wow.
Can be set up in a couple days, and so I'm looking at that, just to have someone out there have a home office or a she shed or man cave or a little workout room. So it's pretty neat. Technology is coming. So
Yeah. Well, that was kind of my next question was innovations in materials that you're seeing out there. So Leo, you mentioned that one, the office in the backyard. Chad, Sean, anything else that you're seeing innovative materials that you're beginning to see more demand and usefulness for?
Well, that is interesting, Leo. I need to get more information on it. I have this feeling that my local building department would have a problem with that concept.
Sure.
But it's something if it's mainstream, we need to bring it forward and figure out how we can do it. I don't know that I have anything like that. I mean, I think just like design trend wise, and of course, I reached out to my designers on some of this stuff, is that we did white cabinets and gray cabinets for years, more of a sterile living space, and now we're getting more requests for wood accents, more of a lived-in look in our homes, which is definitely different than it was a few years ago. But on the technology side, I don't know that I see a ton
There
of
you go.
stuff.
This
Oh,
is
yeah,
that little work pod. We can put that thing up in like
That's sweet.
2 days. It has
What's-
self-adjusting feet. Looks like a
gotta-
shoebox with concrete with an
Yeah.
adjusting leg, and
Yes.
it can go up in 2 days.
You got to fit that into your shed requirements instead of your building requirements. I think one of the things that we're doing more and more, when I first came into the industry in the early 2000s, people wanted to extend the hardwoods and they really liked the naturalness of the hardwoods. And then the planks got wider and wider, and they realized that as these planks get wider and wider, it's hard to install them properly with natural woods. There's too much gapping, separation, spreading. And so almost all of our houses now where we're replacing the hardwoods, we're replacing it with an engineered product. An engineered product is more sustainable. You can still get engineered products that you can sand here and there at least once, and they don't move around like the natural hardwoods do. So that's been something on ours. And then on the lighting controls, if especially for the typical gentleman of the house, if you want to start talking about all the speakers that they can wire in it, that the televisions that they can hide the HDMI cables in the walls, and all the pre-wiring you can do, the ability to do some sort of Lutron or some sort of those. Even GE has some systems where you can adjust lighting quality and move lights around pretty easily. I think that tech is going to continue to go and go and go.
The LVP and LVT is taking off more so than I thought it was. We're doing a lot of that in the kitchens and living spaces now versus traditional hardwood because it's so much easier to maintain and upkeep. It's more durable. I was at IBS, and a lot of, as far as design elements, there's a lot of reading going on, as in looks like little bamboo, like doors on cabinets, wall panels, floor to ceiling decorative wall panels are all reeded. I just did a bathroom where we use the reeded wall tile. It looks like marble, it's porcelain, but it has that, looks like your fingers as far as the texture. So that seems to be somewhat of a trend this year.
All right, moving on a little bit to your costs, supply chain, labor costs. Sean, you mentioned a little bit before how someone thinks they're going to do an ADU and it costs more than their actual home. So how are you navigating those challenges? The sticker shock of someone who wants a bathroom or kitchen, and what's the best way to get them over the hump?
It's tough because most of us are in some kind of competitive situation when we go to meet with a client. So we go out there and we tell them what we think their project might cost between this much and this much. And we don't know what the next person that's going to come in is going to say. Are they going to be in the same range as us? Or are they going to be, some other crazy number that we couldn't possibly do it for? I think it's lengthening our sales process. So, 5 years ago, someone would come to us and they'd say, we have a $250,000 budget. We want to do these things. And we would start designing it and they'd say, oh, we love this. Let's, what if we did this? What if we did this? What if we did this? And then it would be 400,000 and they would say, let's do it. And we would be like, wow, okay, we're going to do all this stuff for 400,000. We only thought we had 250 to work with. And now it's like the opposite. And you can look back on it now and say that was a great investment they made 5 years ago to put all that work into their house before the pricing went crazy. But now, we're having to add some extra steps into our sales process where we're doing a little more due diligence before we get into, some kind of a design contract with our clients to start really designing and building what they're looking for. That's probably been the biggest change. You still have people that they can't get it. They can't get it in their head and they're just not going to move forward with their project.
And we have to put it in relative terms for the client. I have to explain to them my $8.50 lunch 3 years ago is now $15.50, or the average price of a new car now is $50,000. And also look at the valuation on your home. People, they probably can remember what they paid for it, but they may not totally understand what the tax or market value is of their current home now.
Yeah.
So you can put that in relation to what the improvement will cost and work from that end. Tell them what everything's worth and what maybe potential future value of the project is. And we have to explain that anything you do significant you do, like a major kitchen or bathroom renovation, you're going to get about a 50-50 return. 50% is roughly the financial part. The other half is you enjoying it as long as you're there.
Yeah. Yeah. We also, and this is just, everybody knows this, but all of us who are professional remodelers, our competition is not each other necessarily. There's plenty of work. It's the DIY homeowner. That is our competition. And I have run these numbers for years and years and years, and I was DIY guy, right? That's how I got into this, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm not afraid to tell people that if you are comparing us to a DIY pricing is 25 to 35% of what it's going to cost you to hire a professional company to do your project. So that's if you're doing all the work, you're not pulling permits for all your trades, which if you're doing your own work in some jurisdictions, you do not have to have licensed trade partners. So, or you're not pulling permits at all if you're a DIYer. That's very, very common. But the cost of the stuff that goes into it is 25 to 35% of the total cost. Then we have to hire licensed trade partners and professionals to install it. And then we have to have project managers to supervise it. And then we have to make money to cover overhead and profit at the end of it. So you're paying 3 times what it costs for the stuff. So if somebody goes out and they shop for all their things and they say, well, the stuff's only going to cost 10,000. Why are you telling me it's going to cost 30? It's like,
right.
Yeah.
Well, those are the clients you refer to your competition, Sean.
Yes, that's exactly what we do. I have a couple in mind. I don't know if they're on the call or not.
I think you.
One of them who sends those to us all the time. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it has forced us to sort of de-emphasize the actual construction cost and re-emphasize the planning cost and the planning process. Yes. You got to get him into, you can't, what I end up doing is in that first or second meeting, hit him in the mouth with some budget they didn't think was even going to be anywhere in the realm of possibility. And it's so much more than they thought it was going to be. And then you got to take them down into reality and the planning and what do you want? And you can reverse engineer into their budget, or you can go the other way, but you have to get them into some sort of pre-construction process where you get to know them, because anybody can walk in there with a piece of paper and give them a price. And it'll take them a long time before they realize that that's not what they want.
Right.
In our sales, we have to provide the client with a vision. Once they have a vision for their project, then they can get an emotional attachment for what it will look like. And then that gets them over the hump to go ahead and move forward. So, we're a design, build, remodel firm. So we use 3D CAD programs to generate a rendering. I'm using AI to personalize those renderings now for the client. So when I go and meet with the clients, when I go to this house, I'm taking a picture of their dog or their cat or something personal that means something to them, and I'm incorporating it into the AI modified sketch, photograph ready artwork. So I just sold a project this past week. I put the people's cat on the kitchen counter. All they could do was talk about the cat. Where do I sign? It was just incredible. I was just blown away. But the AI is helping us close the sales. Really.
Well, I was about to ask about sales and marketing strategies, but Leo just covered that. Take the family pet and throw it
I
in
gave
an
away
AI
all my
image, so,
secrets. Sorry.
yeah. But all right, so let's ask differently. What separates a successful remodeling business right now? Not remodeler to remodeler, not remodeler to a DIY person. What separates the most successful businesses right now? Do you believe?
Customer service, without a doubt. If you don't listen to your clients and address their needs, we live in a society now where, when I first started, if you got a phone call, if you called them back within a week, you were good. And then it went to a day, and now people expect a response in 5 seconds. So responsiveness and customer service sets the successful companies apart, I believe.
I'm go with just our overall process, just a repeatable process, start to finish, predictable experience for the client.
It's systems,
I know,
what they call that.
yes, systems and process, that's something that's, it's taken us a long time to sort of refine, and we're always refining those things. I feel like that's what separates us from a lot of our competition, but there's a million ways to do this business. You could be a home improvement contractor and drive around in your truck and replace windows and doors. You can just solely bid architect's plans and do that. You can do design build. You could do cost plus. You could do fixed price. There's a million ways to do it, and you can be successful in any of them. For real, you could be successful. So I don't know that there's a right or wrong way to do it, but I think, for us, it's the process and systems, repeatable experience, client communication, really trying to hold ourselves to a really top level standard. I think that's what would separate us. And then a lot of just like fundamental understanding of business and how it works, how to scale your business, things like that. Those are hard things for small businesses to figure out.
Yeah, you touched on a lot of things there. There's certainly the consistency, and there's a lot of lanes in remodeling. Remodeling is a kind of a catch-all term, and there's tons of different work that falls under remodeling, and you got to pick your piece of that lane that you want to be, you want to excel in, and whether that's the bigger stuff, the smaller stuff, or whatever else. And also, just to get to what Leo said, there used to be the 3 legs of the table, the quality, the price, and the timing. And now I think that 4th leg is that customer experience, and that's that is the most important leg. If you can win that leg, and that's going to be your best customer all the way, and that's going to be the raving fan that gets you the business down the road and does Leo's little videos with his cat or whatever else needs to happen to get the next client. So,
Well, that'll be a customer for life too. So that cuts your marketing costs tremendously.
For sure. Because the marketing is a tough road, and referrals is where it's at, for sure.
All right. I'm going to ask you if you could change one issue in the remodeling industry. And you're not allowed to say just bring costs of materials down.
Are
Uh,
we
right.
talking about regulation or
Yeah, you can answer it regulatory. You can change one law, one code, one something. Uh, you tell me, what would it be? Have a little
and
fun.
then you guys take notes and we take it to legislature if we
That's
need to.
right. We're taking
Yeah.
notes.
Uh, I think the energy and the NEC stuff has gotten really complicated for us. And it's adding a lot, of cost, and it makes it challenging for remodeling. Andrew was in town last week. We were talking about some of our, and Kara, thanks, Kara. And talking about some of our challenges with remodeling, but you can't just take a house that was built 60 years ago and put an addition on it, because now we've got to deal with ever-changing energy codes. You can't match that same wall to roof intersection without changing your heel height on your insulation on addition space. So I'd love to see us get some more sort of like common sense type stuff that says you could add onto your house without having to redesign it to meet the energy code. I think that would help. And then, we're dealing with a lot of changing rules about arc fault circuits and things like that. So if we make changes to the existing wiring in houses, it's triggering a whole chain of events that is causing us to have to upgrade services, replace panels, replace wires, and it takes something that 10 years ago might have cost $1,500 to a homeowner, could now be $10,000 or more to do all this stuff.
Wow.
And there's a couple other things unique to remodeling. One of them that comes up here and there is we have this 15 inches to center line. I don't know if you guys run into this code, but it's 15 inches from wall to center line and then 30 inches from fixture to fixture on. So if you go to Home Depot and buy a 24-inch vanity off the rack and you put it in the corner of your bathroom and hook it up, that is not code. That center of that fixture has to be 15 inches from the wall. In a remodeling scenario, we have to be very, very specific if we're doing pull and put with our jurisdictions to make sure that they'll let us go back with the same fixture that was there. Otherwise, we're being held to these standards. And if you read the language of the code, it's like, so that you can clean. It's kind of like weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a couple things there.
That's good.
It would be
Chad,
nice if
anything?
you could put some restrictions on the media for like HDTV, so they can put the realistic cost of what the project costs.
Yeah, all right. I like that.
Not what it costs in South Texas to do tile work or something.
Or the main cabin masters.
Oh my,
The
main cabin masters. Please give me a break.
$31,000. We've rebuilt your entire cabin. Yeah.
Yeah.
That has,
I like that.
that has cost us more educating the client on the realities of what to expect.
That's what it is. It's education.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think the media and the HDTV makes the first conversation challenging, and then the lack of trust, in that initial conversation, because they just don't believe that the stuff costs what it costs, and the amount of education and time it takes to do that. And the regulation doesn't help. I think there's some good things that has happened with the regulation. I still remember in the early 2000s where we could do a renovation and not have to be required to do load calculations or any HVAC calcs. And so you'd run into people that were just swindled because they did additions with no ductwork or extended the ductwork from the old crappy system wasn't size big enough. And now that pendulum, like you mentioned, Sean, has swung the other way where they're having us do so much stuff.
Yeah.
That's really sort of defeating the purpose.
We've had to go to our local jurisdictions and really educate the building departments on our process, because we're doing these sizable additions and remodels and they're asking for like a fully engineered set of plans. And so I have to sit down with them and say, well, here's how this is going to work. We're not going to tear the side of their house off until we're like ready to blow through the wall. And that's when we're going to measure the existing trusses and we're going to get you the engineering, but we're not we could get you some engineering right now, but it's going to be, we're just going to have to do it twice because we're going to have to revise it when we're done. And they've worked with us on it, but they're used to new construction where they get a fully engineered package, approve the plans, and go for it. And renovation is just a lot different model. And you open it up and you have a whole plan for how you're going to do the ductwork, and you realize there's some mechanical obstacle in your way that's going to have you revise it, or whatever the issue is. That those things happen all the time in remodeling, especially when you get into like those large projects like that.
All right. I know you all are all active again with the association, but if you can share with others how you keep up with best practices in the industry, education, everything you're kind of sharing right now, what's the best way that we should tell others to get involved and dial in?
I'm going with 20 club participation. I mean, it's all this stuff, but it's that I would consider that essentially a high level networking, which is all piece of my membership in this federation. And I get so much from those other 17, 18 builders, remodelers that are all over the country. And we're sharing these same conversations constantly. And then networking at every event, local, state, national events, you get to just soak in so much information from people. That's how I'm getting most of it.
Okay.
And Sean, Chad, and I are Board of Trustee members of the NHB Remodelers Council. I'm the current vice chair. Being a member of that council allows me to speak to other remodelers all over the entire country and get different perspectives in their markets, how they're handling certain things. And having access to that proves itself, the benefit of it, in the numbers. Our members have a higher gross profit margin than the average remodeler. I'm not going to disclose all the statistics right now, but it's considerably higher. In those 20 groups, it is by far higher than the average. I think when we had our state meeting, I believe the room said the average gross profit was under 3%, I believe. And
Or net, or net?
Excuse me?
Did you say gross or net?
I'm sorry, I meant the net profit.
Yeah.
Was under 3%, and the remodelers in the room, typically remodelers, the net profit is, according to the latest statistics I just downloaded from NHB, was 6.3%. If you're a design build remodeler, that is now 7.9%. So learning from your peers is just invaluable. It's the best thing you can do for your business, for the investment, that the dollars that you're going to spend. These people are willing to tell you anything. I mean, my problem with when I go to my local, we'll sit in a room and it's like you're sitting in a poker game. Nobody wants to show their hands. They don't want to tell you how much they're paying their carpenter or an office manager or anything. I can call up somebody out of state or at the other end of the state, and it's an open book. And that's just been invaluable, being able to build those relationships and not having to call a headhunter and paying them an absurd amount of money to get some of this information, or paying an attorney $250, $350, and I can just make a call to someone who's already been through what I'm dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just invaluable, those connections that you can make.
Yeah, I think when you get to the give back stage of your life and you start sharing that information more, I've seen my business grow since I've done that. And one of the things, the knock-on involvement in the HBAVs is that they're just happy hours, and who's got time to go to happy hour every night, and how can I go to all these happy hours? But what I found the real benefit from it is there's always a committee someplace that has an interest for me. And there's tons of opportunities for you to join and really learn. That's where you make the relationships and make you go. You find the issue that's interesting to you, and there's a vehicle through the HBAVs to grow that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to use a term. You get what you give.
That's right.
Right.
100%.
I mean, it's 100% true. The more time you can make to help other people or to do what you can for your community for in the whole federation, the more you're going to get back out of it, and without question.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I want to leave some time for questions. So if anybody has questions, you can type them in the chat, or feel free to raise your hand and we can call on you. But this has been, I feel like, a really good discussion. As we wait for people to hopefully enter a question or two to get started. But
Craig, I can give you
reminder,
a few more statistics if you like.
Yeah. Go ahead, Leo.
The number of remodelers in the country now surpasses that of all builders by 65%. So there are far more remodelers than builders now. And as of this year, the dollar volume spent in the country will surpass all of new construction, residential, single family, and multifamily combined. That's the first time ever in history that has happened. So it's a great time to be a remodeler.
So I have a question that I'm going to ask. How often do you all get calls from someone that hired a remodeler that was not legit and they want you to fix the problem? And how much more does that end up costing the customer? And how does that happen often? I would think it probably would.
I'm up here in Northern Virginia where, things cost too much and everything else. So everybody's looking for a better deal. And there's many remodelers that have taken advantage of that. There is remodelers up here that are promising steep discounts for paying everything up front, or majority of things up front. And there's just guys chucking the trucks that just are bad at what they do. And so we end up at least a job or two a year, if not more, is a fix-it job. And it is, without question, everything is paid twice. I had one client a while back tell me that she was paying the most expensive rent in whatever building she was renting in while she's waiting for her job to be done, because every time she would ask the former contractor when they were going to be done, he said, I just need a few more weeks. And so she would extend it for one more week at the highest possible rate, and then she'd have to do it again. And we came in there and told her it was going to be, at least 6 months realistically before she was going to be ready. So there is lots of them out there, and because of the litigiousness of the world, it's hard to get rid of them, unbelievably so.
It's always cheaper to do it once than to do it over.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, those are hard situations because you don't want to tell people that they made the wrong decision at the beginning, but there's reasons why they made that decision a lot of times, because they wanted something that was probably not possible that someone was offering them. So we've had some come back to us after they hired the person that was competing with us and tell us, we wish we would have gone with you guys. Now we're in litigation or whatever. I tend to steer away from the fix it scenarios. We do it just, we depending on the situation, we'll get involved. Right. But.
So to that, you all are all very well respected and known in your communities. How far out are are you booked out? Like, what's a realistic, as people on the call or they're talking to their neighbors, is it 6 months, a year? What's kind of realistic if they picked up the phone today that they're going to get started?
We have work under contract we have at least a year's worth of work under contract already, and that's
okay,
like the safest number. And then we have another year kind of in the pipeline. And then, but depending on the type of job, we could fit another job into our schedule if it works. I have a hard time with people who say they have a 2-year, or they have projects sold that aren't going to start for 2 years. I'm like, how can you have pricing done for that project? Because that it's completely fluid what it's gonna look like in 2 years. So I think a lot of people have a strong backlog. I actually think I was telling you guys a couple days ago that my 20 Club did a little AI summary of our reports, but one of our themes was that group wide, we have a really strong backlog, but we're struggling to produce it. So we're having, struggles with operational efficiency, just resources in-house and otherwise to get the work done. So a strong backlog is great as long as you can actually get it up and running and producing revenue. And that's a challenge when you start, getting more work.
Yeah.
For sure.
I would say we're not doing this quite the largest projects as Sean, but typically 4 to 6 months, somewhere in there to start any new projects, to acquire cabinetry, things like that, be ready to go.
I think that you're back to your regulation question, the regulation and the process makes everything several months out at best. So
that's true. The permitting and everything. And
then when you get to that point, and then you get people whose lives have, just changed in 6 months, while they're waiting for things to happen. And I tell folks that I don't want you to go look for that rental or think about moving out or thinking about shutting things off until we actually have the permits in hand. In 20 years, I've just been burned so many times of, I think the permits will be ready next week, and then somebody finds some I that's not dotted or some T that's not crossed, and then it's another 4 months of jacking around.
Yeah. And I will also say, Craig, thanks to you guys at HBAV, because I know Chad's we're all in different markets. We all have different things. Chad's in Northern Virginia. He's got localities, coming up with some crazier regulations than we have. Leo's got a lot shortage in Richmond, so he's got a different remodeling market than we have. But HBAV has just, it's pretty easy to remodel in Virginia. And going to Chad's point, I have a builder buddy in California. I mean, he's 18 months from the time he submits his drawings to the municipality before he gets permits. It has to go through, it's insane. I'm like, how can you plan and run a business like that? And he was doing this all the way through COVID and all this cost inflation. And you price a project and sell it and then go to permit, and it takes 18 months. That's nuts. So love that you guys are keeping it easy for us here. And yeah.
Awesome.
I didn't know
it's a big deal.
I didn't see the suck up portion of the agenda, Sean.
It's coming.
I'm just giving them a plug because it's true. I mean, I get a remodeling permit in Blacksburg for $30.30, which is pretty sweet.
Hey, we're only as good as our members. That's right.
When you talk about importance of membership, this is, with all seriousness, if it wasn't for the state HBA and our locals during COVID, we would have been shut down like Pennsylvania and all those other states.
Yeah.
And that was truly a blessing that we could keep the doors open because everybody was living from home, and the demand just went through the roof for improvements. So thank you all so much for that. Craig, there was a question in the chat.
Yeah, I see one question about local. I don't know if your local HBAs have remodelers councils. If they do, if they don't, what are your all's thoughts on a local remodelers council?
We have one active one in Virginia, which I think just started back up. Is Paul in here?
Paul is not here. Coastal?
Yeah, I think they just fired theirs back up, but as far as I know, it's really the only active one that we have.
As far as access to educational resources and value, our NHB Remodelers has an extensive resource library for educational topics that we can funnel to the locals to use in their meetings and so forth. A lot of people are doing at their meetings there. We'll have shop talks where they attend the shop talk live. And that shop talk alone will bring in an expert, whether it's say an attorney or a multimedia person that you're going to be paying $250, $300 an hour for And that's a free hour of education from the leading industry leaders. So that's, you just can't put a dollar value on that type of information. Like AI is a big topic now. Social media marketing is always important, but that gets funneled down to your local to provide content for the members.
Yeah, I see NHB Remodelers has a shop talk tomorrow. It's a webinar called "Finish the Job and Still Chasing the Money." Remodelers share what actually works. So
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
that one, and this
Yeah.
month we've had three. There was one last week that
Yeah.
I was on, and we'll have another one in the following week. So some great information there.
all right, do we have any other questions from the audience? Well, all right. Well, then we will begin to wrap up. Just another reminder that sometimes we overlook. We mentioned all the benefits of membership with the connections and the access to industry expertise. Don't forget your discount at Lowe's. If you shop at Lowe's, get that. And don't forget to submit your HBA rebates claim. So put some money back in your pocket with those two programs.
We just did that yesterday for the quarterly for HBA rebate.
All right, awesome. So if anybody on this has questions about that, just reach out to myself or Channing. Just go to hbav.com if you don't have our email, and we'll get you hooked up. And with that, Channing, I'll flip it back to you.
Thank you guys for joining today. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to hop on this. I will send a follow-up email with the recording, some information on the Remodelers Council, the 20 Club, NHB rebates, and HB savings. So it'll be a nice detailed email for you guys. And like Craig said, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
guys.
Good seeing everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care.